Genevieve was impressed. She gave us a 1-day probation period and told us to go get settled with Cinderella, her stepdaughter, who lived in the barn.
Once settled in, we met Cinderella, who I recognized right away was going to be really fucking annoying.
I felt so bad for her.
I have never heard anyone complain so much about their life. Okay, yeah, her life sucked. I'm not denying that. But as I explained to her, under the law of the land, she does have some right as the firstborn of the man of the house. She just ignored me and kept complaining.
She was so sweet and warm.
I mean, dumbest bitch I've ever met. She sleeps on cinders, hence her name. Fucking cinders. She's gonna die of black lung disease. Anyway, we were ordered to clean ourselves up and then meet Genevieve in her chambers.
When we met with Genevieve, she was so cold to us. She handed us our uniforms, told us to keep them clean, told us never to be late on our chores, to come whenever she called, or suffer at her hands.
We bowed and left the change. Alana looked terrified, and she asked me what we would do if we messed up. And I said, don't mess up.
After that, we helped with dinner and served the stepmother and her daughters. None of them paid us any attention. Like, they didn't even talk to us. If they wanted something, they would point or snap their fingers.
After working the Cinderella household for about 3 days, we were getting nowhere.
She wouldn't look at us, let alone even talk to us. I was so burnt from working in the fields, and I thought my body was going to fall apart from working so hard.
Finally, one afternoon, I was doing my daily cleaning of the household when I heard a noise coming from Genevieve's room. I thought maybe if I could get her at a vulnerable moment, she would let me in and try to talk to her. So I snuck into the room as quietly as I could, and I found her on the floor against her bed, crying, holding on to a drum pitcher.
Paige came back from working with a black eye. I asked her what happened. She told me not to worry about it.
She clearly reacted badly. I wasn't able to stop the first hit, but when she came back for a second time, I was able to stop her, and I tried to communicate with her, but she was too upset, and she yelled at me to get out.
Before dinner, we were called in to see the stepmother in the dining room. When we got there, she looked meaner than usual.
She told us we were to leave the household immediately without food or pay for our services. And the kid tried to defend us, and that was the wrong move.
I won't speak out of turn again, I promise. She got, right in my face and whispered in my ear that if I didn't leave now, she would stick what few guards she had left on us. I knew what she meant, so I just turned and left.
I'm not sure what she said to Lana, but I watched the color drain out of her face.
Once we got outside, I felt sick to my stomach. I threw up.
This is her first time in this situation, so I gave her some time to recover. We've all been threatened by a villain, and it can be very scary.
I asked Paige what we were going to do now, and she said that we would have to jump time a few years because we still needed to finish the mission. I said I didn't care what happened to the old hag, which made her get very defensive.
I told her she didn't understand and that she needed to suck it up and do her damn job.
I just bit my tongue because I didn't feel like arguing with her.
I knew of a portal not far from the area that is always reliable.
So Paige led me to the middle of nowhere and started digging in the dirt.
I found the controls buried, and I put the settings to 3 years, which if I remembered correctly would bring us right before her fall.
She told me to bury our weapons, that they'd probably be rusty when we came back through, but if they were kept well wrapped, it wouldn't be so bad. Plus, the blacksmith would be able to help us work out any kinks that there were.
We stepped through the portal, landed in the same spot as I had predicted, and we dug up the weapons, and they were dulled and rusted in some spots, which told me it had in fact been 3 years.
We headed straight for the house. Paige just walked right in. I was surprised by her boldness. I guess we were done pretending.
I told the guard to go get Genevieve now, or I would go find her myself.
The guard took out his sword, and then Paige did the same.
We had a small battle. He nicked me once in the arm, but it didn't take me long to swipe out his legs and get him to land on his ass.
I was so focused on the fight, I didn't even see Genevieve walk in. She yelled at us to stop, and she was so furious. I could see it in her eyes.
She did seem shocked by our presence. I mean, it had been 3 years for her and only moments for us, and we looked exactly the same as we had when she kicked us out.
When she found her voice, she told us she didn't care and wanted us out. But Paige just wasn't having any of it.
I told her I was here to help her, and I got the usual back. I don't need anybody's help.
I was expecting Paige to get really angry and start screaming, but she didn't.
I looked right at her and said, "For his sake, let me help you."
I didn't know what she was talking about. But Genevieve's expression, her face, it softened. And after a minute or two of just kind of looking at Paige, she gave her a stiff nod.
I told the kid to stay there and not to move a muscle, and Genevieve took me to her room alone.
What is that?
It's nothing, it's just a mirror. I just wanted you to see yourself. What do you see?
An old woman who is broken?
I don't see that. I see a strong, beautiful woman who's holding on to something she shouldn't.
This is ridiculous. Why am I even speaking with you?
You're doing it for him.
How do you know about him?
I know a lot about you. Probably more than anyone alive. Please, tell me about him.
Why? You just said you know all about it.
Because you need to talk about it.
I guess it all started with my mother. She was a very cold and cruel woman. She was terrible with me because my father had abandoned us when she was pregnant with me. I guess she always blamed me for that. This is ridiculous. I don't know why I'm even telling you this.
Please, Genevieve, do something good for yourself for once.
She was always beating me and telling me I had to act like a proper lady or no one would marry me. She was obsessed with my marrying someone above my class. She was tired of barely scraping by, and she did always tell me that the only thing I had going for me was my looks. I guess that's gone now.
I know a few people who would disagree.
Thank you. I wish I could believe it.
Tell me about him.
Him. Charles. My first love. We never really dated or were together. We would meet really late at night or early in the morning, and we'd talk for hours. I felt so safe in his arms. Then a young man came into town looking for a bride. He was handsome, I guess, but all my mother saw was his money. He was extremely wealthy because he'd inherited a lot of money from his father. I wanted to impress my mother, you see, to get her to stop hating me and get her to start loving me. So when that man asked me to marry him, I said yes. Charles begged me to run away with him, but I shouted at him and I told him that he was a pathetic little boy and that I needed a man. I never saw him again. He ran off to join the war and he never came back.
I'm sorry, Genevieve.
Please put that away.